Actually, it goes live everywhere, but you always find that YouTube or LinkedIn actually does best. But it just boots up, and then we will be ready to rock and roll.
Sounds good.
So people are kind of coming in. So hey everybody, thanks for tuning in for another great conversation here, where I have invited Bethany from Sendspark. Sendspark is one of the coolest video solutions out there in the market. And because video is close really to my heart, it kind of made sense that one of the things that we really want to chat about today is how to leverage video in the best possible ways, whether that's across inbound, outbound, to the different use cases. I use personally myself, video for a long time. In my previous job as a VP sales, had a sales team of 50. I literally had people shooting videos manually, about 40 videos a day. A person would do it, and then you would send it out. But things have massively changed, and so it made sense to invite Sendspark so you can do more dynamic videos at scale. So we've been using Sendspark, and Bethany's going to introduce herself in a bit, and then she's going to also show how to use video in the coolest possible ways. So over to you, Bethany.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for having me. I'm happy to be here.
Maybe Bethany, if you can maybe outline what Sendspark does, how does that compare maybe to something like Loom? Why we should folks use Sendspark over Loom, and then we'll go on from there.
Yeah, sounds good. So a little about me. My background is in like marketing for startups, so like a lot of email outreach and marketing automation. And the last company I was at, we were trying to use personalized video, just using the tools, that you think of on the market, like I'm gonna say Boom, like Video and Loom, and found that when we send a personalized video to a prospective customer, they respond really, really well, especially at a startup where you want to see the people behind the company and the reason for why they're building it. And it was a huge edge for us. But for me on the marketing side, it was so tedious to basically nagging the salespeople to be creating videos and, give me a video. And then I was trying to dynamically change the thumbnails using like some image editing software and to be able to personalize little bits. And so it was one of those things that worked really well, but the friction in the process just made it unusable. And so we started Sendspark to think about, well, what if you're going to be sending out videos, what should really be personalized? Like what is important? It's going to be like the value prop and how you help that type of customer and similar customers you're with. Like how can you take that and the people behind the company to be able to personalize that, but then use AI or just text personalization or other things to automatically personalize things that can be standard. And so that way you're able to use video in like top of funnel outreach. And that's what we've built.
Makes sense. So here's Firas as well, just joining in. So guys, if whoever's tuning in from different parts of the world, feel free just to not be shy and say where you're from, which part of the world you're from, whether you are, head of growth or, you're running an agency, whatever it is that you are. Feel free to pop that into chat if you're not too shy. And then if you have any specific questions around video and how to use video, feel free to also pop that into chat. We're going to be answering the questions at the end. Naturally, this is all recorded, so you don't have to ask me for the recording. I had a lot of people actually ask me whether this is going to be recorded. It will be up there on YouTube. You can always check it out. But yeah, kind of, maybe back to my kind of story of using as a VP sales. So I was saying that back in my days, I didn't use Loom, but I used another solution which is similar to Loom, which is called Vidyard. Back in the days, but it's kind of very similar. It was designed for sales purposes in particular, and yes, we would send a gazillions of videos. I think like I would send probably about 200 videos across my whole sales team, and so we did do that naturally for the outbound motion, for the inbound motion as well. Even things like introducing the account exec prior just to the meeting, prior to the demo. So there's multiple kind of places where you can actually place the video to enhance the conversion rates. And you have to just do it, in the right way. So what we typically recommend, and I bet Bethany's going to go over that, is maybe don't necessarily lead with the video itself, because naturally video does have HTML. Maybe do it in the second email, but naturally you can also use videos on LinkedIn and so on and so forth, right? So there's probably a particular way to do that, and that's some of the best practice we're going to go over here. Bethany. So Bethany, what she did So we prepped naturally for this webinar. So we're naturally connected Sendspark and Salesforge, right? We can send emails out. And so she's going to walk over how that sort of looks like, how you can use that. And then, guys, yeah, if you have any questions, feel free just to ask them in the chat. So, yeah. So Bethan, do you know how to share the screen and how to go over the how it works?
Yeah. So you want me to go ahead and show like how to create the personalized videos?
Yes, that would be good. Yeah.
Cool. And everyone here, bear with me a little bit. I'm in the process of moving in between locations, so I have just one computer screen today. So everything is.
Do you have typically two, or?
Huh?
Do you have typically two screens, or?
Well, I normally have like a monitor, and so now I'm like everything's on top of itself, but it'll work. I'm not worried. Okay, so I'm also sharing the tab, so you should be able to hear sound, but if you can't hear sound, so just let me know. Okay, so like again, the idea with Sendspark is personalize what needs to be personalized and automate everything else. We do have like a normal video record library. So the idea is you could even record normal videos, but then scale these out for outreach. And how you'll do that is in the dynamic video section, you can create a video template. And the way this works is you'll record the video and just select the language that you're using. And we give you a placeholder word that's going to get replaced with your viewer's first name. You can also change other variables in the video too. But if you're just doing first name personalization, we say record saying, hey, watermelon. And then the rest of the video is normal, just you talking, you can show your screen, do whatever you want. And we're going to replace that first name with your viewer's first name. So this is an example video.
Hi, watermelon. I just generated this video using.
And again, the rest is like a normal video, just the watermelon word. And you can see here, you can actually add like multiple videos to this. If you wanted to start out with a personalized intro and then show a product demo, you can do that. And you can also do a dynamic background. So if you want to make it look like you're recording over someone's website, you'll just toggle this on. And then here where you see the background URL, that can be you like showing, your little camera bubble on their website, scrolling up and down. If you want to use the scroll, you can even show a mouse here. So you set up this video template. And then like Frank said, when you send the video, you're actually going to be sending it as like a little snippet in email. So it'll be like the GIF thumbnail of the video, and then that links to the full page online. Here's what the page looks like. And so you can customize this. It'll be your own branding. And you can also add like calls to action. You can embed your calendar if you want people to be able to schedule meetings for you. You'll just set everything up the way you want. And again, you can even use your own domain, just customize this experience for customers. And then the last step is to add contacts. It's very, very cool integration. I'm excited to show you to pull in leads directly from Salesforge and LeadForge to be able to do this automatically in your sequences. But for demo purposes, I'll just show you a couple where you could do like Frank and Bethany. I'm going to just do Salesforge and so you can obviously do this through automation or just uploading a CSV. And then what goes in the background URL, that's going to map to the dynamic background here. So if you just go ahead, you can hit generate. And now what you're going to get is that same video, but personalized for each person with their name, showing their backgrounds. And I can pop these in do I have a way to chat with them? And I can pop those videos in the chat when they generate. But this is how the high level dynamic video personalization works.
Yeah, you can pop this in chat if you want. And is it instant, or does it take a few seconds to do that?
So it takes a few seconds.
Okay. And
here I'll show this again. So what you're seeing is these ones take a few seconds to load. And then, but it depends on how much of like basically the slowest thing, the process is the lip sync. So if you wanted to just do like a normal video over someone's screen, it's basically instant, but otherwise it could take like 1 to 2 minutes. And if you're doing more variables in the video, those might take like 6 minutes if you're going to change like company name and different things too. But multiple videos can process at once. So if you do a list of 100, it'll still take like 6-7 minutes.
And do you typically do it over the website, or is it typically LinkedIn, or like?
I mean, we see people do both. I think Both work really well when it's like website or LinkedIn. And then I'd say if you can think of something that really adds to your value prop, that can be awesome. Like we have some customers who like work on either ad tech or they sell agencies related to ad software. And so they'll actually pull up like the Meta ad page and show their prospects ads or show like Amazon stores. So I think if there's something that's like helpful that like ties into how you help people, that's the best. But otherwise, just like a standard website or LinkedIn profile can be really helpful, just to be like, hey, I'm talking about you. Like, don't you want to know what I'm going to say?
Gotcha. So majority of the then of the users on your end, do they mainly use it for outreach, or what are the typical places where you would utilize this?
Outreach is definitely the most common use case, and I think part of that's because like outreach is really hard. So any way you can get an edge is really valuable. We have people using it for just like cold outreach as well as kind of tying it into certain signals. So maybe you're tracking that, you know, people are following certain topics or visiting certain web pages, things that are more like, you know, your inbound led outbound. And then you can do a lot on the automation side too, with like personalized welcome videos or like automated no-show reminders. Like if someone doesn't show up to a demo, then you set a status in HubSpot or something, and it would like automatically trigger a video to generate and send. So like you could do a lot on the automation, but I'd say cold outreach is still the most popular.
Yeah. So what's the relative lift that you would typically see?
It definitely depends on where you start, and it, like often we'll see like 2 to 3 times increase. So if you're starting at cold, like you might be starting with like a 1 or 2% reply rate, and then that could go up to like 3 or 6. If you're doing like inbound, you know, I'm hoping you're getting closer to like a 70-80% reply rate. So it really just depends on like the base. But like, you know, if you're starting with like a 50% reply rate, like there's only so high you can go on the inbound side of things.
That's true. Makes sense. And then I think you also did you also prep how it looks like also in Salesforge? Was that
Yeah.
yeah. Let's go over that. I mean, it's very straightforward, guys. I mean, it is sort of dummy proof. Like we have a native integrations actually between Sendspark and Salesforge, where you can send out the emails. Naturally, it's fully natively embedded. I naturally tried it out, and it was super fast. It took me, I think, 10 seconds roughly to integrate natively. And then, yeah, when you create naturally a sequence, within that sequence, you then embed the video. So the idea is that it's like super, super easy. And I think you work with, like you have a native integration actually with us, but there's also Expandi, I believe, right? You have a native integration with them as well, right? So there's only like a few partners where that's the case, but we want to make sure that it's super, super easy to set it up, right? Because you know, we don't do video, and I'm a big believer in video. I'm a big believer, like especially in terms of what you say, as in if you do integrate video, you can see, you know, easily a 2x relative lift if video is part of your outreach, right? You want to make sure it's kind of seamless, you know, you can seamlessly do that within the software. So yeah, let's have a look then, I guess.
Awesome. Yes, this integration, I was very impressed when I tried it. It's just so seamless.
And yeah, guys, if you have any questions for Bethany or me on anything that has to do with videos, so I've sent hundreds of thousands of videos myself in my lifetime. So feel free to ask any questions on the video front. Whether that's top of the funnel, bottom of the funnel, middle of the funnel, happy to chip in and answer any questions. Whatever you're most excited about, or whatever you see the most value, I guess, when it comes to the videos. So I'm naturally we'll take those questions at the end. So yeah.
Okay. So these ones just loaded, so I'll play these videos real quick before showing the integration, but this is what it'll look like.
Hi, Bethany. I just generated this video using...
So that's one versus this one's going to be Frank.
Hi, Frank. I just generated this video using Sendspark.
So you can see it's the same video, but generating for each one. Okay, so the way to think about the integration is in Sendspark, you have these dynamic video campaigns, right? And these are your templates. So you have the one and then you're personalizing it for each person. How the integration works is in Salesforge, you're going to create your sequence. And by the way, the first time you do this, just make sure to go into your integration settings and connect Sendspark, which is here. Otherwise, you're not going to see what's next. So just do this step first. It'll ask for your API key and you can just connect it. But then what you'll do is you'll go into your sequences, and you can set everything up the way you want.
Mhm.
And so we'll just go here. You can add the contacts. I'm gonna skip ahead and do that last. Or
You actually need to add a contact. Yeah,
Sorry.
it doesn't just add the random contact.
Okay, we're adding on them.
Just give the
So
validation.
okay. Yeah, there is. Okay, so where you're building your emails, you can just write anything, and then here in the body, wherever you want the video to show up, you just click Sendspark Video, and then this is going to pull in your whole library. So all of your dynamic video campaigns that you have with your different videos, you'll see it. You'll see it here, and then you just choose the one that you want. You can even preview this in here just to make absolutely sure it's the right video.
Hi, Watermelon. I just generated.
And again, it's going to be the watermelon video because this is the template. And
Yep.
then you just hit add. And then here, this is going to work the same way as any other variable. So the same way you're able to use like first name, you can be like, here's your video. I can never type live. And you'll see the placeholder. And then when you add contacts and you turn this on, the videos are going to get automatically created. So it basically is going to delay your email from like 1 to 2 minutes, because when you add people, like you're adding the people in, Salesforge is going to be like, hey, Sendspark, make that video. We'll make the video using the right variables, send it back, and then your prospect gets a beautiful video email frictionlessly.
Makes sense. So from a deliverability standpoint, right? So there's typical question, right? So so on inbound, I think it makes sense that it will be the first video, like the video actually goes in the first email, because I don't think folks do have any deliverability issues on inbound. But what's your take on the outbound front? What is a typical strategy?
For outbound, we'd recommend putting the video in like the second email, just to make sure like the first one you're doing like plain text, no links, no images, really just focus on getting in the inbox. Also, I was doing this quick, so I wasn't using any spin text, but like obviously you want to do that. And I noticed Salesforge has a really nice auto spin text feature. So, with cold deliverability is you just want to do everything right and not take any risks. But in the second email, it's really going to help, honestly, because you're going to get more engagement, and that's going to help your emails like look better.
Yeah, I mean, the sales part of me is like, I really wanted the video to be in the first email, but you're like, but I really want the emails to land in the primary. So, yeah, it's a tricky one. Like, but personally, I would really want the video to be in the first email, because I'll be like, hey, Epiphany, it's Frank. I know you've never, we never spoke. Or here's me, I'm reaching out, blah blah. So yeah, and naturally videos work. But yeah, I think you can actually also combine with LinkedIn, right? So so we have some customers, for example, they would they would say send send a LinkedIn connection request and then send a video, I think, after that, right? If they did connect. If on LinkedIn didn't respond, then actually send an email. So you can definitely combine that with LinkedIn. But when it comes to the actual consumption of Sendspark, do you see more of that on LinkedIn or more of that on email? Where do you see more of where people use more often?
I don't know. I feel like everything's in waves. So like earlier this year is definitely more on LinkedIn. And then I think LinkedIn started, shutting down some accounts. So people got a little scared. And now email seems like it's having a rise again. But I would say, it works really well on LinkedIn. Like that's where you can't do as high volume LinkedIn outreach as you can with email, but you're going to get like very much higher percentage responses. And we do have a really solid integration with Expandy for that. And we even have people that just send it in the connection request that get, high acceptance and then high replies. You could also set up more automation to send it after. If you ask,
with the connection request, there's just cap, right? So in terms of how many messages you could go into the connection request. So there's always that debate there. But yeah, okay, makes sense. Because we'll be also rolling out LinkedIn during the summer. So this is definitely interesting to play around. Sort of email or LinkedIn. But naturally, you don't have any spam issues on LinkedIn, right? Which is from my experience, I think I actually see slightly. I don't know. Do you know conversion rate data, LinkedIn versus email?
We've seen almost always higher in LinkedIn than email,
Yeah.
but the volume's smaller. So it's like, you can't just be like, oh, I'm going to do more LinkedIn and always get higher responses. Like with email, you can get a scale you can't get, but if you're going to email 100 people or send 100 messages on LinkedIn, LinkedIn's going to perform better.
Yeah, the only way we work around we found with LinkedIn is I'm just connecting more profiles from my team to
Yeah.
software that we're testing right now, and just kind of spreading that across the individuals. But yeah, that's the only way to kind of navigate around that. So, all right, guys, if you have any questions, feel free to ask them right now while we have Bethany on. I mean, if you're too shy, feel free to ping her also on LinkedIn. She's very visible there. But let's take one question that we have from vlogs. What if I manually type in that variable instead of clicking on a button? I mean, it should work if you manually type in a variable in the editing section. I typically never recommend typing any variables because I've seen people messing up variables, and then when they actually fire out the email, then that's hasn't been typed correctly, right? So I always recommend just to take the from the drop down the variables that are in there and just kind of pop them in there in the video. But yeah, then copy paste essentially. Like,
my concern too is you want to link the right video. So like here we have like, you have different.
Hi, Watermelon.
So yeah, it could be, even if it should work, it could be risky typing it because you don't know if you're correctly linking the right dynamic video campaign.
Yeah, it just happened to one of my reps. It was on LinkedIn actually. So he manually typed it in, and yes, it went out. And we're a sales technology company. It doesn't look good if you don't know how to use variables. So yeah. So let's have a look at which template will I use then if I just type in whatever template you have set up, I guess, in Sendspark. You can set up unlimited templates, right, Bethany?
Yeah, unlimited.
Makes sense. Cool. So if nobody else has any questions, that's totally fine, guys. I mean, it's very straightforward, right? You connect, you have an account with Salesforge, account with Sendspark. You go to the integrations page, quickly connect. That literally took me 10 seconds to do. Then the Sendspark capability pops magically within Salesforge. You go and pick it up from the sequence section, drop it in. You're done. And just the only recommendation here is just to have that in the second email, and that's easy peasy. We have more questions coming in, so guys, feel free to ask any questions. Let's take the next one. How does this handle difficult to pronounce names? I mean, the pronunciation was really good, by the way, on Frank, and I'll test some other ones. Like, it's awesome, but I think you'd also do a pretty good job in like German and other languages as well, right? So
yeah, and I'd say like if you're an American, difficult to pronounce names, the AI is going to do better than you would. Especially like for names like I always test like me saying French names versus the AI. It's always better. Some issues that we do have right now that we're like still refining is if you're not an American, and then you're pronouncing names that are also American. So like Michael, like let's say you're British and you're saying like Michael, it might kind of come with a more American pronunciation. So that's something we're still like working on a little bit, which it's really subtle, but that's where I'm like, oh, I wouldn't say it's perfect there, but if it's just like you saying a French name or an Indian name or something, like it'll be better than you. And I'm hoping within the next week we'll be really, really solid on all types of accents. But yeah, even in like German and other languages, we have official support.
So you're going to start doing accents as well?
Yeah. So you'll be able to, I mean, really it should know your accent. So that's what we want. It'll either be button or it'll just be like, okay, perfect. We're going to use the Australian or the British pronunciation of these words. So it's okay right now. It's just, that's where there's further room for optimization that we're kind of tweaking. We have a couple people on the team focused on that right now.
I mean, I have an easy name, but the pronunciation was like rock solid.
Yeah. It's pretty good. Yeah.
All right, so let's take the next question. What are the best places to scrape emails and other contact info these days? And integration with Sendspark. Not as familiar with the Forge, but in the past I've used ZoomInfo, Rocket Reach, etc. I mean, yeah, you can get data in a bunch of different places. So Bethany has mentioned that there's also LeadsForge where it's like a search engine like ChatGPT where you can get data across multiple databases out there. But there's other places that can be scraped. We also use Phantom Buster. We use Clay, a data bar. Like, there's definitely a lot of places where you can just get the data if you need to. Yeah, I don't know if you need personalized recommendation, just ping me on LinkedIn. Bethany, where do you get your data these days?
All over the place. We're using Clay for some stuff. We're using Expandy to like scrape LinkedIn, and even if we don't do LinkedIn outreach, we'll get the emails. And I'll give you a shameless plug, because I was just checking out LeadForge, and I think it's really cool because you can use like language to just be like, hey, find me SDR leaders in Austin, and then like type this in, and then it pulls it up. So I've been kind of testing this out, because then you can also, this is a bad live. It never works when you do it live, but then you can push it into to Salesforge and use the whole integration.
Yeah, I'll have a look. It should work for sure. But yeah, when
I might have used all my credits because I was messing around.
Maybe that's fine. But yeah, I'll have a look at it. But yeah, there was another question. Is it the question? Pronounce the names better than me. Yeah, I mean, AI on average should be better for, especially when you do things at scale, right? So, you know what I do when I don't know how to pronounce? I go on YouTube and I'm like, how do you pronounce this name? So you don't need to do that as a human. And guess what? You just use Sendspark. Luke is asking, what about Clay? Yeah, you can get your data in Clay. Sendspark has a native integration with Clay as well, right? Yeah, we have integration with Clay, so that's all good there. So if you want to use Clay as a bridge, you can. Next one, Michael again. Yeah, I think you roll this feature out, being other variables, right?
Yep. So the way the other variables work, so it's in beta. That's why I didn't demo it, but we do have it live for customers now. But the way that works is you'll see the whole transcript, and then you can select different variables to replace. So so we have support for company name, job title, and some other variables in the body of the video.
And you do like custom variables as well?
Officially, we're still adding custom variables, but you could technically like take any of our variables and make it whatever you want. So like you could put job title somewhere, and then when you're sending in data, you could be like, actually, this custom variable is the job title. So we have people that are kind of doing that, and we'll have official custom variable support too soon. And I can share that.
I know a lot of people that are pumped about the variables part, right? Because the first name is cool, right? And like the background is cool. But if you can how many variables can you modify in the video?
You can do up to 3 right now. So this is how it works, and you'll just choose like the model you're using. So you can do voice only. Voice and lips is what I showed before, and then multi variables. And so the way this would work is you just select, and you'd be like, I'm not, you can highlight these and be like, hey, this is company name. We're limiting it to 3 right now. We could always, give people more variables if we want. It just, you can't put variables too close together or stuff starts getting weird. But yeah, this is kind of cool.
Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah. I'm just thinking about variables being too close. Yes. Okay. Next one. How do your teams warm emails? I guess you're talking about just the email warm up generally. So on our end, we use our own warm up engine, which is powered by WarmForge. Everything is a Forge is the Forge. So that powers Salesforge. So that's free of charge if you have a Salesforce subscription. So there's no issues there. Naturally, you should be running warm up for at least a couple of weeks before you send out any cold emails across your secondary domains. We also use warm up for our primary domain as well, because we do send out inbound emails, but we just want to make sure it's warm. Sometimes even the primary domain lands in spam for whatever reason. So we just the warm up is always on also on the primary. The warm up always has to stay on. And if you're in Europe, if you're in Europe where you do a lot of European emails or different languages, then I highly recommend to do multilingual warm up. That's just kind of personal recommendation. So not everybody is multilingual warm up out there in the world. But if you had in mind a particular question on warm up, let us know. But it's a very standard practice in the industry to be doing warm up. Warm up works. Some people don't believe warm up works, but it definitely works. And the reason why it works is because Google doesn't like warm up. So if Google doesn't like warm up, that means it works. So that's
good rule to live by.
Yes. If it didn't work, then Google wouldn't care. I typically say because Google does care about the topic of warm up, then it does work. So it does definitely improve your deliverability, and it negates the spam reports to an extent that you're getting from the prospect, because you're guaranteed to get spam reports, right? So you need to counteract and have measures in place. So warm up is one of them. Naturally, making sure you have clean lists and many other things that also need to happen. So cool, guys. If you don't have any other questions, that's totally fine. We can answer any other questions on the YouTube channel, or we can actually find Bethany somewhere on the internet. Where can we? Maybe there's one question. Okay, one more question from Luca. Let's go for it. With 11 apps, I don't know actually. That's for you.
It's a good question. If you don't mind messaging me about it, I know that some other people on our team have been experimenting with it, and I don't know if it's actually live for customers or not. But that is something we've been working with the accent, like as we're like really polishing the accent. So it might be possible. I'm just not sure if it's something that we talked about or something that actually works.
Sure. So I guess people can find you on the internet and ask that question. Where can people find you? Where's the best place?
You can find me either LinkedIn. I'm just search Bethany and Sendspark and I should come up, or you can use my email, which is bethany@sendspark.com.
Excellent. And maybe before we wrap, just one final question. I'm interested, and I think a lot of people also are interested as well. What is coming from Sendspark as we progress into, for the H2 of 2025? What can we expect from Sendspark?
Our goal is to give you as much as you could like literally imagine to personalize at scale. So, right now we have the multivariables in beta, and we're giving you some functionality to change like different parts of the video with like video clips and stitches. We're just trying to figure out like, hey, what really helps you sell? Like what are personalized like aspects that help you show your value prop or connect or show value? And how do we build this into the platform to make it really easy for you to personalize at scale? So it's just all kinds of different dynamic elements, and we're always focused on making sure it's going to work well within the email sending or other outreach platforms you're already using. So we have this great integration, but what else can we give you to be able to dynamically change the video?
I mean, I think my only request is probably possible is to do it via WhatsApp. I mean, that's a channel I think that is interesting enough, and I think it has volume. And we use a lot of WhatsApp for the inbound motion for sure. So that's an example of where I would love to play around with the having a video on WhatsApp. I think it triggered me the most I received once an outbound video on WhatsApp, and that triggered me the most. I don't know why. I still remember that video from the SDR that I received.
Yeah, we have people doing it. You just need a way to be able to send the WhatsApp messages, because we don't like do any of our own sending. We're just integrate. But if you do, we have people that are using Sendspark on WhatsApp and even iMessage. Like there's this one company, they figured out how to like we generate the video and then they actually download it using our webhook and then send it as a file so it plays in your text. And I think that's really, really effective. They're doing it's for inbound, it's for like meeting confirmations, but still really cool use case.
I'll definitely play around with it. Well, appreciate having you, Bethany. This wasn't probably the last time. We're going to see you again at some point once we're going to see a lot more cool new features, or maybe we're going to explore and dive deeper, maybe on WhatsApp or something else. Guys, if you have any feedback, feel free to drop me on LinkedIn or in the comments below. And otherwise, we shall see you next time. Thank you so much.
Amazing. Thanks, everyone.